France. The year was 1212. Europe was exhausted by war, famine, and failed crusades. Villages starved. Churches overflowed with desperate prayers. Across the countryside, people searched desperately for signs from God. Then a shepherd boy stepped forward. His name was Stephen of Cloyes. Stephen claimed that while tending sheep near the village of Cloyes, a mysterious traveler approached him alone in the fields. According to the boy, the stranger was Jesus Christ himself. The traveler allegedly handed Stephen a sacred letter meant for the King of France and gave him a mission that sounded impossible. Not knights, not kings, not armies. Children would succeed where grown men had failed. They would peacefully reclaim Jerusalem. At first, most adults dismissed Stephen as another starving peasant child with impossible dreams. But something strange began happening. Crowds gathered everywhere he spoke. Farmers abandoned their work just to hear him preach. Mothers brought children to receive blessings. Priests watched nervously as thousands listened in complete silence. The movement spread like a fever through France. Every passing day, more children joined the march. Thousands began following the movement across France. Some were children, others were poor farmers, servants, beggars, and desperate families who believed they were witnessing something holy. They marched through villages carrying wooden crosses and homemade banners. Church bells rang as crowds gathered to watch them pass. At first, the journey felt almost miraculous. People offered bread. Villagers prayed beside the roads. Some even believed angels were guiding the children south toward the sea. But the excitement did not last long. Weeks passed. The roads became colder, longer, and more dangerous. Food disappeared quickly. Shoes tore apart on rocky paths. Rain turned the roads into deep mud. Children collapsed from exhaustion. Some became sick with fever and could no longer continue. Others simply vanished during the night. Still, the march continued. Every day the crowds grew thinner. Bodies were left beside roads and fields as the survivors pushed forward toward the Mediterranean coast. Many still believed God would perform a miracle when they reached the sea. Others had already begun to doubt. But by then, turning back felt impossible. After months of marching, the survivors finally reached the Mediterranean coast. For many, it was the first time they had ever seen the sea. The exhausted crowds gathered along the shoreline in silence. Torn banners flapped violently in the ocean wind as waves crashed against the rocks. They believed the miracle was finally coming. According to the story spreading through the march, God would part the sea and allow the children to walk safely to Jerusalem. So they waited. Hours passed, then an entire day. But the sea never opened. Panic slowly spread through the crowd. Some fell to their knees and prayed harder. Others screamed at the sky, demanding a sign from God. Many had sacrificed everything to reach the coast. Now they stood starving, exhausted, and stranded. That was when two merchants approached the children. The men offered ships and promised to carry them across the sea for free. To many, it felt like the miracle had finally arrived. Several ships were prepared at the harbor, and thousands boarded them believing they were sailing toward the Holy Land. But according to later accounts, the journey became a nightmare. Some ships were reportedly destroyed in violent storms near the island of Sardinia. Others allegedly sailed south, where many of the children may have been sold into slavery in North Africa and the Middle East. Most were never seen again, and as the years passed, the story of the Children's Crusade slowly transformed into legend. More than 800 years later, historians still debate how much of the Children's Crusade is completely true. Some believe the story became exaggerated over time, transformed by fear, religion, and medieval storytelling. Others argue that large groups of poor children, teenagers, and desperate peasants really did march across Europe in 1212, believing they had been chosen by God. The exact numbers remain unknown. Some medieval writers claim tens of thousands joined the movement. Many likely died from hunger, disease, exhaustion, or exposure during the journey south. Others may have disappeared into slavery or simply vanished into foreign lands, never returning home. What makes the story so disturbing is not just the tragedy itself, but the belief behind it. Thousands followed a promise that no adult army had ever fulfilled, not because they were forced, because they believed. They believed the sea would open. They believed angels were guiding them. They believed faith alone would protect them from starvation, storms, and death. But history rarely remembers the names of the children who vanished along those roads. Most were forgotten. And over the centuries, the Children's Crusade slowly faded into legend, somewhere between history, myth, and warning.